I'm Sonali Basak, financial correspondent for Bloomberg News and Bloomberg Television. And with me, I have Kewsong Lee, the CEO of the Carlyle Group. And let me give you a stat to give us started. So, Carlyle, around the world, and its portfolio companies have more than 900,000 employees at those portfolio companies combined. So, Q, talk to us about how you think private equity can be playing a bigger role in advancing the equality discussion, knowing that your industry employs so much of the world.
Well, first of all, hi, Sonali, and hope you're doing well. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's such an important conversation that we're having, and I'm so glad we can do this. And if you think about Carlyle, we've got 1,800 employees. But when you think about Carlyle with our several hundred portfolio companies, the business that we're in, which is working with these companies, and then you're right, it's about 950,000 employees across those portfolio companies that are in what I would call the broader Carlyle ecosystem. And then if you think about those portfolio companies, their employees, their suppliers, their customers, the way we think about this is how do we work through our spheres of influence to do everything we can in varying degrees to try to influence the debate. And so clearly the approach that we're trying to take is one where we work through our spheres of influence to push on matters like diversity, because it's so important to do with respect to making a difference, but also making performance at those companies better. Because our view is diversity at the boards, the management teams of these portfolio companies, and the practices that they push on, by helping them become better companies, they also will perform better.
So those portfolio companies, Carlyle really started to lead the way when it came to pushing more diverse board members, bringing more diversity to the boards of these companies. On the portfolio company level, what more can be done to ensure that more diversity and more equality is really being brought on to this huge base of companies that you own?
Sure. Well, it starts from the top, and we've been at this for a while, and I'm really proud to say that our efforts have paid off with, in the United States, 100% of our portfolio companies have hit some diversity targets that we set for them about a half dozen years ago, and we're now raising the bar. We want 30% of our controlled portfolio companies in private equity, 30% of the directors to be diverse. But it goes beyond that. We want diversity at the management teams, and so we're working with our resources to help them appreciate and improve the diversity at the management teams, because and we've done the research on this, if we take a look at our portfolio companies and separate them into those that are more diverse than not, those that are diverse, their earnings grew 12% faster than those that weren't. So this is data-based, and we see better outcomes. The other thing we're doing is we're looking at, for instance, we have a portfolio company called HireVue, and it's in the video interviewing technology business. And through its online video interviewing, it's able to ensure that it reduces bias and improves better outcomes with respect to diversity, with respect to recruiting. And so we're trying to introduce that type of capability set across all of our portfolio companies. So it's a whole bunch of different things that you have to do. It's not just at the board. You have to go down and you have to go across, and using those spheres of influence across our broader ecosystem, try to make a difference where we can.
Now, what's interesting about that is what you said about more diverse companies leading to better returns. But a lot of this is also about social change. And wondering, as a CEO of a company, as a CEO of a major private equity company, how are you balancing returns and impact?
Sure. It's a great question, Sonali. And implicit in your question, there's a little bit of an either or a balance or a compromise. And I'm a firm believer in and, not or. Our job is to drive performance and deliver great returns and have positive change and positive impact. And I actually think you can do both, because we're in the judgment business, and great investing requires great decisions. And if you think about it, in order to make great decisions and great judgments, you need a wide variety of perspectives, diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences, creativity that can you can pull together and bring into your investment process to basically say, how can we make the best decisions possible? And if you have that mindset, you're going to start to appreciate that diversity actually makes you perform better. And it's that same mentality that we bring to our portfolio companies, which is a focus on building better at every single company and having positive impact wherever we can. It's not just about revenues and costs. It's about diversity. It's about sustainability. It's about procurement policies that make sense. It's about improving management teams. When you take that building better mentality at your portfolio companies, you can see now why, our belief is it's not an either or equation. It's let's drive performance. And if you can do that through our approach, you're also doing good. And so we're not doing good for the sake of doing good. We're doing good because it's the smart thing to do as well.
Now, Q, I want to recognize that this is also your first interview since you've been named the sole CEO, since it was announced that you'd be running Carlyle solo. So what is going to define your time as CEO?
Well, I'm terribly excited to be in this fortunate position. Got a great team around me, a company with a wonderful culture, and we're excited because there's so many opportunities to continue growing. And as we grow and we've got a great industry with tailwinds, I'm energized by the fact that there's just a lot more we can do at Carlyle, not only for our investors, but for all of our stakeholders. And I think you're going to see us over the next several years be really focused on the things that we're great at, push hard, grow. And when you can do that, you're going to create a great company with a lot of energized people, all pushing in the same direction to drive performance moving forward.
Now, speaking of energized people and having a diverse talent base, you look over to what happened at Wells Fargo, right? Charlie Scharf, the CEO of Wells Fargo, had really frustrated a number of employees when he said that there wasn't enough of a pipeline to bring up more diverse talent. He has since apologized for some of those remarks. I'm wondering how you address an issue like that. How common is that among your peers to hear that there might not be a pipeline?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on Wells Fargo. I can tell you our perspective has been there's a lot of terrific talent out there. We've been at this for a while. Last year, 49% of the folks we hired were women, Black, or Latinx professionals, and 20% were Latinx or Black. And so we've been at this. We're just not recruiting from our backyard. We're pushing and affiliating with the right organizations and really looking for different backgrounds to try to bring in. But, I want to make a point here, which is a lot of folks think that this whole debate is about like finding that one thing or the one silver bullet to really make a difference. And it's not about one thing. It's about a whole bunch of different things. And yeah, you have to have great recruiting, and we do believe there's great talent out there. But it's also about the right mentorship. It's about the right professional development. It's about making sure your organization has that you get rid of unconscious bias. It's about compensation. It's about alignment. And so it's about a whole bunch of different things. It's got to be much more cultural than just about one program or one recruiting initiative.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm glad you brought up compensation, because when we think about Wall Street, we think about pay, we think about performance, we think about measurable results. And how are you at Carlyle incentivizing your managers to build in diversity into everything that they do?
Yeah, Sonali, I'm glad you picked up on that. It's a great point, which is in our business, alignment is everything. And yeah, we're pushing for all these targets. But where the rubber really will hit the road is when you have important issues like diversity, equity, and inclusion become part of a professional's career advancement and compensation. And so this year, we're introducing at Carlyle that how a manager or a leader has done with respect to our DEI initiatives and the diversity on their teams and their ability to make a difference in this respect is going to be an important element that we formally said is a part of promotion decisions and formally a factor in compensation at year end. And so it is something we believe strongly about. And if we believe strongly about it, it ought to affect a person's career, a person's advancement, and a person's compensation with respect to making real progress with, on this important topic.
Now, when we spoke to some of our audience on Twitter, when we had polled them, they had said that they believe that the banking industry is really leading the way when it comes to diversity in its ranks. More than 30% said so. But private equity was right behind, with more than a fourth of our respondents saying that the ranks are becoming more diverse and the insurance industry lagging behind all of the above. But, when you look at Carlyle, more than half of your assets are run by women. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. What is the culture that you've created over time to make that a reality? And what should the rest of the industry also be doing to also make that a reality?
Right. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of great work with a lot of people over an extended period of time, but a little over half of our AUM at Carlyle is led or managed by senior executives who are female. We're very proud of that. Clearly, these are talented professionals, so we should start there. Their performance has been exceptional. But it takes more than that, I believe, for this type of advancement, in the sense that you need a company with a culture that enables and promotes and nurtures and allows, in a way, for this outcome to occur. If I think about Carlyle's culture, and we got so many terrific people, and there's so many different aspects of it, but if there were a few things I put my finger on, first, it's an incredibly collaborative and partnership-oriented spirit that we have running through the halls at Carlyle, and that lends itself to real inclusivity. And having an inclusive culture, which brings in people, makes people comfortable, and wants people to share, is exceptionally important. Second, we are the leading global platform in the industry. We have over 30 offices in every major region of the world where we do business, and that lends itself to a multicultural orientation or perspective, which is really important. And especially in today's day and age, I think having that multicultural orientation or perspective is something that's incredibly valuable, but something that does enable there to be more inclusivity and more appreciation of diversity. And finally, what I would say is our business is about investing. We love what we do, which is investing, and we think we're very good at it. You can't be great investors if you don't have this intellectual curiosity to want to understand and appreciate different views, different perspectives, different ways to look at a situation, because after all, we are in the judgment business. And the way our investment ethos is set up at Carlyle, it's one that deliberately seeks out different points of view, different perspectives, because we believe that informs us to make better investing decisions. So when you throw all that together, you can see why we have a culture which is incredibly inclusive but supportive of diversity and leads to the outcomes that you mentioned at the beginning of your question.
So the other thing about this industry, it's still overwhelmingly white and male at the top of it. Why do you think that there's so much inertia for this industry to change?
Yeah, no doubt, and we just have to acknowledge some of those statistics in the industry. Change is hard. It's hard in every industry. It's hard in every company. It's hard with people. But I'm excited by the fact that there is progress that's being made. The level of awareness is as high as it's ever been. And I think the issue for all of us now as leaders is we shouldn't just view this as a moment where we're all focused on it. We need to create sustained momentum. And it's conversations like this. It's conversations that leaders are having within their organizations. And we all have to understand this is a long journey. There's a lot of work that has to be done. There's a lot that can be done, but it's sustained series of concerted actions throughout that'll eventually enable a lot of progress to be made. So no doubt there's inertia, but change is hard, Sonali. I'm encouraged by what we're seeing around us, and I do believe in all of us in our own way, as long as we keep and sustain our actions, that there will be a difference that's going to be made.
Now, I do want to wrap around to where we started, which is private equity's greater role in society. Diversity comes in a lot of forms. It comes in the form of gender equality, racial equality, but I want to take a note here on wealth inequality as well. When you look at Carlyle, when you look at the private equity industry, is there a role that the industry can be playing in reaching more low to moderate income communities?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the concept I mentioned earlier, which is our spheres of influence and this ecosystem. And it's not just about Carlyle itself, but it's about all the different spheres of influence that we can affect. There are lots of different ways to do this. And I applaud all the firms that are trying in their own ways. Some have specific products or a fund or an impact initiative. Others are figuring out ways to give back to their communities in philanthropic ways. The way we've been thinking about it is to do everything we can through our extended ecosystem and our portfolio companies. And if we can make them better, if we can build better at these companies, these companies have employees, 950,000, as you mentioned, across all these communities. And as they grow, as they prosper, it's our strong belief that the communities that they're in will do better as well. So we have to try to use different approaches, and different folks will land on different initiatives. This is the approach that we've thought hard about, that we're pushing hard on. It's an all-in type of an approach. It's not about a product. It's not about just one thing. It's about everything we do. Let's figure out how we're going to make positive change and impact. And if we focus on just building better at each of our portfolio companies, it's our hope that directly and indirectly there's uplift in the communities and in the society around us.
Now, I want to take one note on you, Q, as well, given that you are taking over as the sole CEO of Carlyle. What was maybe the single biggest challenge you've had in your career to rise to the top?
Wow, there are too many that I can list for you. But it's a journey, and I think as you progress in careers, you're always learning. You're learning from your mistakes, and you're finding different mentors that you can learn from. But for me, it's all about needing to continue to adapt and continuing to evolve and mature, because things that worked for a certain part of your career early on are not the same skills that you need in the next part of your career, if you follow me. And so for me, of course, hard work. And if my mom's watching, of course, my parents and all the great things that they did for me. But it was an evolution and a maturation of skills where perhaps early on it was about the analytics of it and the data and driving hard, trying to figure things out. But increasingly, it's much more about the EQ. It's adapting your views so that you're persuading and influencing and leading, as opposed to just trying to do. And so for me, that's been the big journey and transition in terms of skills and things that I've been trying to work on.